What's up and welcome to Me, You, and Switch 2. I'm me, Tom Tate. You are you, so let's talk about Switch 2. You know the deal, 5 to 10 minute episodes every Tuesday and Friday. We're going to keep things short and sweet. It is Tuesday, September 9th, and we're going to get right into it. We're going to give it up for Silksong one more time. I'm sure Silksong will continue to be in the headlines, in the news for the next couple of weeks, as it was such a big release for Nintendo Switch 2 and other platforms. There still aren't enough reviews to really dive in, so maybe give me another week or two and I'll do a roundup on how it's performing and just kind of share what folks are saying about it. I've read a lot of mixed opinions across Reddit and across other outlets from fans, but I definitely want to hear what the reviews actually shape up to say. I didn't pick it up yet, but I fully intend to. I did not play Hollow Knight, so I would be coming to this game super fresh, not really biased in any way, based on the hype cycle, based on the previous title, but I definitely plan to buy it at some point. One thing I read this weekend that I thought was noteworthy, even though the game has already been cracked and pirated, gamers on the piracy subreddit are actively purchasing and supporting the game, and they're calling on others to do the same. Some are actually saying that this is the first game that they've purchased in many, many years. Mostly this is in support of commendable practices by the game's developer, Team Cherry. And honestly, because they priced the game at just $20, which is super commendable. They could have priced this at $40 and it still would have sold like crazy. But you really can't win though, because IGN shared an article that other indie devs are afraid that Silksong's $20 price tag is going to make it impossible to price their own games. And it's an interesting argument. I will definitely admit we're in this weird how much should a game cost moment, with some games pushing, the $70 to $80 upper limit, and people are questioning the value of digital versus physical versus game key cards, and we have variable pricing. I think we have to wait and see how things shake out. I think this conversation is going to continue. I know GTA is going to come out, and people are saying that is going to exceed $80 potentially, and people will pay for that, right? So I think, how much is a game worth, and what is that worth based on? That conversation is going to continue over the next cycle, right? And I think that we'll really start to understand what is the baseline and why. Speaking of game key cards, this topic is not going anywhere anytime soon. It continues to come up. It seems to be a thorn in the side for Nintendo, but there's an interesting new insight that was revealed this week. Ars Technica ran a story where someone who worked on Star Wars Outlaws shared that data transfer speeds are slower when the games are running on the Nintendo Switch 2 game card versus running off of the Switch 2 internal storage itself. So here's an excerpt from that article. It's no secret that Switch 2's eMMC cartridges, which max out at a reported 400 megabytes per second, load game data more slowly than either the console's microSD Express expansion card, reported at 800 megabytes per second or more, depending on the card, or the Switch 2's internal storage, reported at 2,100 megabytes per second. For a game like Mario Kart World, that difference might mean a noticeably longer loading screen when you first start up the game from a game card, for instance. So reading through this article, this is the inside baseball kind of stuff that I love to learn more about. So for optimal performance, you might want that game living on the internal storage, which could be an argument for getting a game key card versus playing an actual game card. So it's 400 megabytes per second on a game card, 800 plus megabytes per second on a micro SD card, micro SD Express card, and then 2,100 megabytes per second if it's running on the Nintendo Switch 2's internal storage. And we've seen in the discourse over the past couple of months that the performance of games really does seem to matter to players. Now that Star Wars is out, it's actually going over pretty well. There were some reports early on that it wasn't going to run well on Switch 2. Digital Foundry did their analysis and have called it the most impressive Switch 2 port to date. It's running at 1440p in docked mode and hitting 30 frames per second pretty consistently. I'll have a link to that video in the notes if you want to check it out. We even got a report this week that Elden Ring is actually looking much better in handheld mode due to some gameplay video that we received from PAX West. So again, Elden Ring was another title that a lot of people were worried about. Is it going to run? Is it not going to run? Not much else in the news. It's kind of a slowish news weekend. NBA 2K26 is out. That got a 6 out of 10 on Nintendo Life, so I'm keeping an eye out for other reviews to see what the general consensus is. They dinged it for some, graphic resolution issues and online play not being cross-platform. So there's a couple flaws with it. Not a perfect title. I'll keep an eye on that for sure. To wrap things up, every once in a while we get these top games to play lists that the outlets will put out. And I personally love these because they remind me of my younger days reading Nintendo Power magazine. And every issue in the back of the magazine had a ranking of the players' picks. And it was great. It was great to see kind of what was trending, what was popular, how long games, stay in the top 10, top 15. So Nintendo Life has a top 50 games list for Nintendo Switch 2, and this list is ranked, starting with number 50 being Handy Hockey. So I'm just going to read the top 15, but I will link to the full list in the show notes. This is a great way to check out games that you might not have heard of yet, and if it's an opportunity for you to maybe find your next big game. 15 is Story of Seasons, Grand Bazaar, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. 14, Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess. 13, Deltarune. 12, No Man's Sky, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. 11, Fast Fusion. 10, Mario Kart World. 9, Yakuza 0, Director's Cut. 8, Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. 7, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, plus Starcrossed World. 6, Hollow Knight Silksong, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. 5, Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. 4, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, yes, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. 3, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. 2, Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition. And number 1, of course, Donkey Kong Bonanza. So I think this is a fantastic top 15. Polygon released the top 15. This is unranked, and they included a couple additional games here. They also dropped a few, but what they included that wasn't in the list above is No Man's Sky, Split Fiction, Street Fighter 6, Super Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV, Arcade Archives 2, Ridge Racer, and honestly, I'm surprised by the last one, Survival Kids. I didn't really read a lot of positive reviews of Survival Kids. It was one of those launch titles, but maybe that's worth going back and checking out to see if that's worthwhile. I'll have a full link to both of these lists in the show notes if you want to read more. That's it for today. I want to thank you, as always, for your time and your attention. Switch2pod.com for all the things. I appreciate you tuning in. This is a young show. It's only been out for a couple of months. To keep it going, a kind rating or review definitely goes a long way. We've got maybe 6 reviews on Apple Podcasts. If that hits 10, I will be super stoked. I'm so terrible at self-promotion because I work all day, I raise kids, and any free time that I have when I'm not podcasting, I'm playing games. It's what I like to do, and I'm sure it's what you like to do as well too. So sharing the show with a friend or a Discord community is super helpful. I will be back on Friday with the latest news. Until then, much love. Now go play some games.